Hello, welcome to Granada Reports. We're live with the latest across the northwest.
Yes, hello on the programme this evening.
What do we want? Fair pay! When do we want it? Now!
Hospital pickets and placards. The start of a 4-day strike by junior doctors. We ask if the NHS can cope. The unions say they're doing it to keep patients safe.
A junior doctor, which is 5 or 6 years out of medical school, starts on £14 an hour. So that's £14 an hour to be the first doctor who comes in when someone's heart stops. It's the first doctor who sees you when you come through in A&E.
It cost £160,000. Now the Clatterbridge Centre in Wirral is celebrating 65 years of giving hope to people with cancer.
No quarter will be given. City face German giants Bayern Munich in the quarter-finals of the Champions League.
Sticking his oar in, we're talking to Bernie, who rowed across the Atlantic on a mission of hope.
And in the weather, how quickly things change. It doesn't look like that outside at the moment. Wet and windy, but how long will it last? All the details coming up.
First, though, if you've been anywhere near a hospital in the northwest today, you'll know that a 4-day strike by junior doctors began nearly 12 hours ago. The most junior doctors say they're on £14 an hour. They want a 35% pay rise, which the government says is unreasonable.
They joined picket lines from 7 this morning. Thousands of operations and appointments have had to be postponed as a result. Tonight, we'll hear live from one of our region's most senior medical directors about what impact all this is having. Before that, the latest from Anna Joseph.
What do we want? Fair pay! When do we want it? Now!
Junior doctors making a stand. Overworked and underpaid, they say they've been left with no choice but to go on strike. Sudan spent the pandemic working on an intensive care unit.
A junior doctor, which is 5 or 6 years out of medical school, starts on £14 an hour. So that's £14 an hour to be the first doctor who comes in when someone's heart stops. It's the first doctor who sees you when you come through an A&E door. It's the doctor who's looking after 200, 300 patients at night. We're not asking for a salary increase, we're talking about restoration. We used to be paid the equivalent of £19 an hour for a starting doctor. We just want that back.
And you're not just striking over pay, there are concerns over patient safety as well.
That's right. We're in a workforce retention crisis. We're about 9,000 doctors short. The nursing staffing is much worse than that. There are about 50,000 nurses short. And this is because there are better offers out there. There's better pay, better conditions, and other places that people can go to.
Megan's been a doctor for 4 years and works in A&E. She says staff shortages are affecting the quality of patient care.
We go home a lot of time fearful about, what we've left behind when we finish a long day of a 12-hour on-call shift. You leave and you feel fear for those patients because you know that there's not the level of staffing there to look after them.
Thank you.
This picket line in Preston seemed to have overwhelming support from the public.
Absolutely with them 100%, because they deserve, the pay they're on is absolutely shocking. They deserve more.
They do all the hard work and get paid peanuts. And they deserve every penny they get. They worked all through COVID, didn't grumble with that. And now they're getting treated like dirt.
Yeah, I support them. I think they're doing the right thing. I think they've not really had proper pay rises for years. The government's, for me, trying to kill off the health service, actually, and this is their way of doing it.
These people have been fighting for our lives while the pandemic's been going on, haven't they? And here we are, shortchanging them. Disgraceful.
We want to work constructively to find a fair and reasonable settlement, but clearly a demand for 35%, over 20,000 for some junior doctors, is not reasonable.
Services aren't expected to return to some kind of normality until next week. Anna Joseph, ITV News, Preston.
Well, joining us live now is Professor Rowan Pritchard-Jones. He's the Medical Director for the NHS in Cheshire and Merseyside. A very busy man today. Professor, it's only day 1 of this 4-day strike, so how stretched has it been?
Today's been another busy day for the NHS here in Cheshire and Merseyside. The ambulances have arrived and the hospitals have been busy. But those are hospitals that have kept our patients safe through all of this as well, and worked carefully with our colleagues in primary care so that we are providing the best care in the right place for our patients through today.
We did hear that a lot of staff are still off because of the Easter break as well, though, so has that put extra pressure on?
Yes, there's been a particular challenge of making sure that every single rota is safely covered. And indeed, while we've achieved that, that has been hugely challenging. We've had doctors who've come in from their annual leave in order to support and make sure that we keep the NHS here safely running for all the patients who need it.
And somehow you have to do that for 4 days. How are you coping?
So there are lots of plans in place. We knew this was coming. Hospitals have worked tirelessly in the lead up to Easter to make sure that's safe. We've worked with our colleagues in primary care, general practice and pharmacy as well to see how other ways, services can work creatively to support and manage our patients. And we know this is a difficult 4 days, this is a disruptive 4 days, and we know this causes understandable upset to our patients and their families, but we're keeping all of this care safe throughout.
So, Professor, we did hear quite a lot of sympathy for the junior doctors. It has to be said in our report. Do you think it could ever be right to pay a doctor, however junior, £14 an hour? How much sympathy do you have with them?
Yeah, it's really difficult, isn't it? So in my role as the medical director, I've got 2 things that I need to worry about every day. The first thing I worry about is the safety of our patients. And secondly, I worry about supporting our staff. No matter what role they do, as a doctor, a nurse, a paramedic, and I don't care what they've signed on a ballot paper either, we are here to support everybody through this really tough time. I don't think there can be a more difficult professional decision to make for people in the caring professions to say, I'm going to take industrial action. We support them. Those who come in to care for patients meanwhile, and we really, really want to see a resolution of this, that the unions and government come together, because it's the first people on my list who are affected most, and that is our patients.
So do you think that 35% is a reasonable demand?
You know what? I really want to let our professionals in government and the unions work their way through negotiating this. I need to see patients cared for. I need to see staff who enjoy coming into work, who are already passionate about their job, but also need to know that they've got that standard of living and that security for them and their families.
Well, Professor, thanks ever so much for joining us tonight, and good luck with the challenges that lie ahead of you this week. Thank you.
More news tonight, and the Lancashire coroner has ordered police divers to carry out more investigations in the river where the body of Nicola Bully was found in February. Nicola was a mother of 2. She disappeared after last being seen on the banks of the river at St Michael's-on-Wyre. She'd been walking her dog along the river after dropping her daughters at school, prompting a huge search operation.
There's going to be a fresh public inquiry into the plans for a new prison on the border of Chorley and Leyland to look into whether roads there can cope. Many people who live in the area don't want it, and last summer Chorley Council refused planning permission for the prison, which would be near HMPs Wymott and Garth.
Well, next tonight, to the hospital that's been giving hope to people with cancer for 65 years.
Yeah, it makes you realise just how much treatment has changed in that time. When the Clatterbridge Cancer Centre opened in Wirral, it was in the very early years of radiotherapy.
Yeah, since then, it has remained at the forefront of cancer care and has impacted a countless number of lives. Claire Hannah has been to meet one woman with a huge connection to the hospital.
My mum was actually a radiographer, and she moved down from Glasgow in 1957 originally, and then she helped move the whole unit from Liverpool, where it was originally, to the new Clatterbridge cancer site.
When this site, with all its brand new technology, was opened, it had cost £160,000 to build, and it was big news. Helen's mum even made the paper.
And there's a photograph of one of the cutting-edge machines. It had a floor that opened up and allowed the machine to rotate around, so the patient didn't need to turn over or move.
It's all like incredibly high-tech stuff, wasn't it, for so long ago?
Yeah, it was incredibly high-tech then, even more high-tech now.
The machines were huge, and it's really scary for the patients to see when they were so big. They're much more sleek and advanced and much more modern looking, and not quite as daunting looking for patients either now.
Sleeker machines aren't the only change. There are now 3 Clatterbridge cancer centres. There's this one in Aintree and one in Liverpool. New technology means people can be treated at home, and the centre is looking at even more advances.
The move really at the moment for radiotherapy is moving towards being able to reduce the number of times a patient has to come in for treatment, so it's less visits to the centre.
Helen has kept close tabs on developments here. Her mum being a radiographer back in 1958 isn't her only link. Helen was a nurse here in the 1980s, and then in a twist of fate, she was successfully treated for breast cancer here in 2014.
I looked after women who were having breast cancer treatment when I was here, and you know how much treatment has moved on from then to when I had treatment, but also as well, you know, when I came back in as a patient, seeing some staff that I'd worked with, you know, 20, 30 years previously. And also seeing how big the place had become.
And that, thank you, in some part, to her mum. Claire Hannah, ITV News, The Wirral.
Yeah, well done to everybody there. Well, it's time for sport now. A big night for Manchester City in Europe. Mike is here, of course. So they're going to win the Champions League finally, Mike?
Yeah, it's the question that we ask every season, isn't it, Lucy? There's been so much success under Pep Guardiola. 4 Premier League titles, an FA Cup, 4 League Cups. But the Champions League is the one that's still niggling away. City have never won it. Let's remind ourselves of which teams stand in their way this season. It's Bayern Munich tonight at the Etihad Stadium in the first leg of the quarter-finals. Should City progress, then they will face either Real Madrid or Chelsea in the semis. Now, City's manager is growing a little bit tired of being asked if this is City's year. He says some of the greats in sport have had to be patient for their success.
That is a sport. In football, in golf, in basketball. Michael Jordan, the best athlete for me, basketball, football player, won 6 NBA titles. How many years played? 16. He lose more than win. So this game, all games, they are so difficult. The important is to be here. I like to be in the Premier League where we are, in the FA Cup, play the semi-finals, being here again. That is my dream, to live it again, being here in front of you in a Champions League competition. And we want to try like we tried all the time, but that doesn't mean it's going to win, no.
Well, this is the 6th season in a row that Manchester City have made it through to the quarter-finals of the Champions League. The nearest they've ever come to being crowned European champions was 2 years ago when they lost to Chelsea in the final. And City's Ruben Diaz is using that experience as a positive.
Like a very wise man once said to me, we didn't lose the final, we just got one step closer. I keep these words to myself very close, because in the end that's the only way to see it if you want to really keep pursuing it. So every year it's all about us getting closer and closer and making steps forward and making our name be more and more loud. So we're still in the pursuit and we'll keep fighting.
Other winners yesterday included Preston North End, Brad Potts with a stoppage time goal to seal a 2-1 result against Reading. While in League 2, Stockport County climbed into the automatic promotion places thanks to a 4-0 victory against Newport County. Callum Hendry scored 2 goals in stoppage time to secure a stunning 3-2 win for Salford City away at Wimbledon, a result which keeps their playoff hopes alive. Barrow haven't given up on their playoffs either. They thrashed Crawley Town by 4-0. Josh Gordon with a hat-trick. And Tranmere Rovers ended a run of 6 games without a win as they beat Swindon Town 1-0 at Prenton Park. Now then, we are just 4 days away from one of the biggest events on the sporting calendar, the Grand National at Aintree. But as millions prepare for their annual flutter, animal rights activists are planning to disrupt the race. Members of the Animal Rising group are planning to form a human barricade across the course in a bid to stop the race from happening. Last year, 4 horses died during the Grand National Festival.
I think most people in the UK love horses, love animals. And I think people feel like they're connected to animals when they go to events like horse racing. But the real question that it brings up for me is, if we love these animals so much, then why is the only way that we can enjoy them through things like horse racing that harm them so much?
Well, in response, Aintree Racecourse says the care and safety of horses is its #1 priority. It adds that it respects the right for peaceful protest, but hopes Animal Rising reflect on whether their proposed actions are a legitimate and responsible form of protest. It says their actions could actually endanger the horses they purport to protect. We will see what happens on Saturday afternoon.
Mike, thank you very much indeed. Now, finally, we love stories of kindness here, and next, we're meeting someone who has literally got it in boatloads.
Yeah, he's brilliant. Bernie Hollywood from Liverpool has just finished rowing solo all the way across the Atlantic. It was an awesome achievement, get it, to raise awareness of young people's mental health.
Bernie joins us live in studio tonight with his dog Murphy, but before that, our correspondent Mel Barham tells us about Bernie's amazing journey.
It was quite the solo adventure. 109 days at sea, rowing more than 3,000 miles through 17 storms and 2 capsizes. But this was the moment Bernie Hollywood finally arrived in Antigua.
What an achievement, Bernie! Come on! Look here, come on!
He began his Atlantic adventure in December, leaving La Gomera on the Canary Islands in this tiny boat, city of Liverpool.
It's been many days on the ocean.
Those first steps on dry land, something he dreamed of for more than 3 months. Facing huge adversity, including terrible weather and injuring his leg, he wasn't sure if he'd make it back alive. But he did it all to raise awareness of his mental health campaign, to get young people talking about depression and suicide.
I think I'm just a bit numb. It's been quite an emotional journey across the Atlantic, and the campaign that we're running, which is Boat of Hope, which is to bring hope to young people around the world about their mental health and well-being, has really brought it home for me.
And there were emotional scenes as he stepped off the boat, reunited with his partner and his son. And despite the challenges, the wildlife, he said, was a huge highlight.
I had two whales visit me, and basically they came back the following night to see how I was as well. So, and nudged the boat gently to make sure I was just there. So, yeah, it's just been a very emotional journey, lots of ups and lots of downs.
Bernie Hollywood!
But while his Atlantic adventure may be over, Bernie's Boat of Hope campaign continues. Mel Barham, ITV News.
Fantastic. Bernie, welcome home. It's so nice to see you in the studio.
Oh, it's fabulous to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, with Murphy, your beloved dog.
Yeah,
How much
Murphy
did you miss him?
Oh, just like crazy. It's been 4 months since I've been with him, and obviously my amazing partner Sharon has been caring for him in just incredible way. So, yeah, it's just wonderful to be back home.
Because they're such great company dogs, aren't they?
Oh, amazing for your mental health.
Sure.
Amazing for your wellness, and yeah, he's just incredible. I just love him to bits.
And how much did he miss you? I think we might have a bit of an indication how much he missed you with the little picture that we've got here.
Oh, there you go.
So there he goes. Look at that. I love that shot.
Oh, thanks, Lucy.
Look at that tail go.
What was that like, that moment?
Do you know what? It was really incredible. So Sharon, my partner, surprised me when we got back to our village, and all the village came out to welcome us back, and Murphy was just wonderful.
How lovely.
Yeah,
I mean,
lots of tears.
After so long away, just tell us a little bit about the experience. I mean, quite a risky experience as well.
Yeah, it was quite traumatic, to be fair. It really should have taken around about 60 to 70 days, but it took me over 109 days to get across the Atlantic. And I got caught in an awful lot of storms, so 17 storm systems along the way, which really slowed the boat down. And I was on what we call para anchor for about a week and a half, whereby the boat never went anywhere because the boat was getting pushed south.
Did you feel sick when all that was going on?
Well, no, surprisingly enough, I didn't get seasick.
And you hurt your leg as well, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
How did that happen?
I hurt my leg in the second capsize that I had. And all of the equipment in the boat fell on my leg, and I got serious ligament damage.
And when the boat went over, you were lucky in many respects because it righted itself.
Yes, Andy, yeah. It capsized, and I was underneath the water for about 5 minutes. Water started to ingress in the cabin, and the boat's got self-righting technology, but on this occasion it didn't come up for 5 minutes, so I had to make a telephone call to my friend to say, will you say goodbye to everybody for me? Because I didn't really think the boat was coming back up at that stage.
Oh my goodness! So you thought you were staring death in the face?
Yeah, I thought that was it. To be fair, yeah.
Was there anything good about this trip at all?
Well, I guess there was. It was a great.
The weather looked good.
Yeah, the weather.
And you lifted a lot of spirits.
We did actually. I mean, the essence of our campaign is to open up a conversation with young people around the world and in the United Kingdom about how they feel inside their heads and their hearts. And I think we did that. I think the journey was meant to be long, to actually sort of to see the endurance and resilience, and also to put my mental health really to the test, which it did.
Well, listen, Bernie, we think you are absolutely amazing. Congratulations,
Thank
well
you
done,
so much,
and
Andy.
great to have you back.
What's
on
next?
Terra Firma.
We have an exhibition. The Boat of Hope exhibition is on the 24th of May for 2 weeks.
Fantastic. Well, good luck with that.
Good luck with
Thank
it.
you.
Fantastic
Nice to have you in.
to see you both.
Thank
Wonderful
you.
to have
Well done, Murphy.
Thank you so much.
Shame you didn't bring
Murph?
the weather back from Antigua, though.
Yeah.
Let's get the latest from here. Here's Emma.
Have you burnt tea again?
I'm scraping the cooled oil into the bin, not the sink.
Can we eat outside? It's nice.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hello there, hope you had a good day today. Wet and windy out there at the moment. The wind's peaking this evening, but more on that in just a second. I'll save the depressing news for a little bit longer. I want to put a smile on your face because it's National Pet Day, and I know that there's no one who loves their pets more than our viewers in Granada land, and that includes Lucy Meacock. Yes, that is our very own Lucy Meacock. This is our very own Lucy Meacock's Alfie in the Dandelions. She's been badgering me for ages to get a photo on here, so there you go, Lucy. I hope that's made your day, your evening, your week. Shadow also here from Janet Packham, and it's not just dogs and cats, it's horses as well, and they're looking absolutely splendid there. I suppose we ought to get round to a few weather photos. So yeah, the Isle of Man, I'm afraid, is going to come in for quite a battering tonight. They've got high tides, they're expecting a lot of rain overnight, also some really strong winds across the Isle of Man, and there is a warning in force here until 11 o'clock tonight. That's when the winds will finally start to ease off a little bit for 50-mile-an-hour gusts, 40-50 mile-an-hour gusts, maybe 55 in the shaded area, so these coastal areas and the Isle of Man. It really is going to be wet and windy through the night. There could be some winteriness at height as well. Some of those showers maybe giving a little bit of snow at the very highest levels, but nothing that's going to stick around. That all clears. There could be a touch of frost around even by tomorrow morning as those skies clear behind it. Here are sunrise and sunset times for tomorrow. Sun's up at 6:18. It's not going to be a bad start to the day, but the showers keep coming. They could band together a bit as well, so you might feel like we're seeing more in the way of persistent rain. Again, some winteriness in there, and there will be some strong winds around. Again, they're going to peak late afternoon into the evening time, giving us this really, really cool wind chill into the afternoon. Bye-bye.
It's a little bit burnt.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
How brilliant was that? We've gone a bit animal mad on the programme tonight. Just before we go, lots of you have been in touch about the junior doctors' strike. Just a few comments. Lisa in Manchester says, everyone starts on a lower wage. I did when I joined the police. They knew the pay structure when they joined the medical profession.
But Jane says, my husband currently is having cancer treatment and we're both 100% behind them.
And Felicity Hayes McCoy says their actions on behalf of their patients as much as to improve their own unacceptably low rates of pay. Thanks for all of those. And thanks to the brilliantly behaved Murphy for joining us. And to Bernie, of course, as well.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye.